Oh, crap. Good evening, folks. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates coming to you live from the Crossroads of the West in Salt Lake City, Utah. The time right now is 6:20 p.m. in the Mountain West. We are glad to have been able to join you tonight. We had some technical difficulties right from the start. We got a brand new computer system in here today. And I'm not sure if that was part of the problem or not, but we are glad to be here with you today. I am going to be showing you some earthquakes. I'm going to be showing you some seismograms tonight. I'm going to be showing you a lot of interesting things. And I hope you're ready for them because some of these things are going to rock your world. They are definitely going to rock your world. First off, I want to talk about the coronavirus. Then we'll get into seismograms. We'll heavily get into earthquakes. Um, the coronavirus. The President of the United States is still in charge. Okay? The President of the United States is still in charge, irregardless of what anybody wants anyone to believe. And he is going to be opening up the country as early as May 1st in some parts of the country. Others, he's letting the mayors decide when they are going to allow their cities. The governors are going to decide when they're going to allow their states um, to come back, and hopefully, with any luck, with any luck, um, we'll be able to bring the country back. Now, I have some reservations. I have some reservations. And I think all of you know why. I really do. I think you guys know why I have reservations. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. Um, I keep getting information that the states are still trying to lock down their states. The cities are trying to still lock down their cities. Some mayors are and county commissioners and such are still trying to lock down their cities and counties. Okay, and I've been hearing a lot of stuff. I've been hearing a lot of information, and it seems to me that some information is not good. Some information is doctored um, to make people feel like that all hell is freezing over. And I will not be giving out garbage information. And as I get it, I will be giving it to you. But the president is in charge. FEMA is not in charge, folks. There have been people that have been posting things on YouTube that they don't know what they're talking about. And I urge you again, and I said this yesterday and I say it again, do not pay attention to these people. They are going to get you in trouble. I will do my best to give you the right information, the accurate information. And if I make a mistake, I will own up to it. That I promise you. But as right now, the president is in charge, and I'm going to believe the president. Now, there are some of you that don't like the president, and that's fine. Those are your politics, not mine. But we are going to go with what the president says at this point in time. I've made statements about other politicians, and I stand by those statements. They need to go away. They need to be locked up, and if found guilty, they need to be taken care of. They set themselves up, they've got to pay the price. Plain and simple. Anyway, getting back to earthquakes, I've had very little sleep. Had very little sleep. Last night, we had a 6.3 magnitude earthquake. In fact, we had a 6.3 magnitude earthquake off the coast of eastern Central America. Eastern Central America. It has been downgraded to a 6.0 magnitude earthquake, and I'm going to take you there right now. We're going to show it to you. Okay? Let me show you this earthquake. Like I said, it's down in Central America, and it's down here off the coast of Honduras. Now, one of our friends lives down there, and we had had some earthquakes over here on the western coast of Costa Rica yesterday, a 5, in fact, 5.0 over here off the coast of Costa Rica. He told us at that point in time that they don't usually feel the earthquakes over in Belize, which is over here on the east coast of Central America over here. He said they don't usually feel those earthquakes unless they're 5.5 or above. Okay? Guess what? A few hours later, about 1 o'clock this morning, there was a 6.3 earthquake that was downgraded to a 6.0, off the coast of Honduras. And I am going to enlarge this map to show you where this earthquake was. It was definitely off the coast of Honduras. Okay, Belize is over here to the left. Belize is over here to the north and west of where this earthquake was, off the coast of Honduras. However, look where this earthquake was. This is the Cayman Trench. This is the Cayman Trench. Those of you that have been with me for a while will recognize where this earthquake is. Why? Because we had a 7.7 and a subsequent 6.6 where you see my cursor. We had 7.7 was right here, just north of Jamaica. Over here, just west of there, we had a 6.6 a week or so later. Actually, I think it was 3 weeks later. We have not had much of any activity since. We had one 4.5, a stray 4.5, coming over here about 3 weeks after the 6.6 went through. But we had absolutely no aftershocks from either the 7.7 or the 6.6, which is highly unusual. And then all of a sudden have a 4.5 pop up, highly unusual. So last night, about 1 o'clock this morning, this 6.0 magnitude earthquake hit. And it shook people up. It shook our friend Larry up. And it shook a lot of people up. Now, over here in Belize, there are a lot of what they call expats, Americans that came down here to live because they got tired of what was going on in the United States. So they bought property back down here in Belize, and they've settled in, and they're very happy. And a lot of people are still planning on going there. But over here in Honduras, over here in Belize, over here in Guatemala, over here in Costa Rica and Nicaragua, I'm sure these people felt this 6.0. Again, it was on the Cayman, what they call the Cayman Trench, which goes all the way over north of Jamaica, north of the Dominican Republic, and it goes north of Puerto Rico, which is right here, and it then comes around, and this map doesn't show it, it then comes around here over the Virgin Islands, comes around the Virgin Islands, and then makes a quick right turn, a steep right turn, and it comes down over here. Now, I don't know why the USGS doesn't show you this. They have in the past, but they're not even showing this Cayman Trench, this earthquake fault, really going over Puerto Rico. But it does. And they don't show it going over the Virgin Islands, but it does. And like I said, then it makes a quick right turn, a steep right turn. It comes down here over to northern Venezuela. But that's what this earthquake was about. Now, I went on the air, like some of you know, I went on the air right after this earthquake hit, and I talked about it. We talked about a lot of earthquakes and seismic activity. Okay, there are a lot of earthquakes that have hit in the past 48 hours. Okay, when this earthquake hit, USGS said there was only 53 earthquakes here on the map. Right now, they're showing 64 earthquakes on this map. Now, I'm going to back this out so I can show you the earthquakes that USGS wants us to believe happened. There are a lot more earthquakes than they have on the map. Okay, these are the earthquakes. Okay, now I'm going to start like a good guy, and we're going to start talking about earthquakes down here in the South Pacific. By the way, folks, if you have not been following me for very long, you're going to understand one thing. All earthquakes, no matter where they're at, all earthquakes, no matter where they're at today, tomorrow, or the next day, they all originate down here in the South Pacific. They all originate down here in the South Pacific. Yesterday and last night and this morning, we have been inundated with earthquakes. Inundated with earthquakes. Now, I want to show you why I say that. As of last night at 5 o'clock this morning, when I finally got off the air, we had 231 earthquakes. 231 earthquakes. Now it says we have 242 earthquakes. This is Earthquake Tracker. Okay? I honestly thought we would have had a lot more earthquakes than this by now. At the rate the earthquakes were happening last night, I thought we'd probably have over 300 earthquakes right now. And we may still have. Why? Because the agencies are not reporting all the earthquakes. Even though the EMSC tends to report the great majority of them, the agencies are still hiding the earthquakes. And that's just a fact. That's a fact. Down here in the south of the Fiji Islands here, South Pacific again, there's a 4.6 moderate earthquake. 4.0 to 4.9 is considered a moderate earthquake. But once it gets to 4.9, that's a lot of shaking going on. When you get to a 4.9, there's a lot of shaking going on. And I typically call a 4.9 a 4.9/5.0. Because at 5.0 to 5.9 may become a large earthquake. But knowing how the agencies respond to earthquakes, they tend to downgrade them. And I don't trust the agencies any further than I can throw it. So this particular case, this was a 4.6, a mid-range 4. It hit the south of the Fiji Islands. Again, it did not hit on land. People may not have even felt this earthquake that lived at any of the islands down here. Okay? Nobody was around to feel this. Besides that, it was a moderate earthquake. It wasn't very strong. Moderate earthquakes usually aren't very strong. If they're on land, they'll shake things off shelves, and sometimes things will fall. But that's all that will happen. So in this case, a moderate earthquake didn't do anything. It was out in water. And besides that, water tends to absorb seismic energy. There was also 5.2 last night that happened in Mombasa, Fiji. Okay, this happened just about the same time as this 6.0 here. Mombasa, Fiji had a 5.2 large earthquake. Further west, over here in Vanuatu, they had a 4.9 5.0. I call them like I see them. 4.9 5.2 or 5.0 magnitude earthquake here in Vanuatu, the island state of Vanuatu. Now this, oh, excuse me, sorry about that. Didn't mean to yawn in your face. This was a fairly deep earthquake, 196 kilometers beneath the surface, approximately 105 miles, 110 miles beneath the surface of the earth. down in the asthenosphere, where the magma is. The asthenosphere, that's where this earthquake originated from. Anything 69 miles or deeper is out in the asthenosphere, in the magma beneath the crust of the earth. That's where this earthquake came from. This 5.2 over in Fiji was 10 kilometers deep. Okay? And as far as we know, it was not a deep quake. But earthquakes can be posted, and we've been told by Lucy Jones from Caltech University in just outside of LA. Lucy Jones said last July that they typically will give an earthquake a destination of 10 kilometers deep, unless they know precisely how deep those earthquakes were. And she also said that sometimes they will, no matter what, label an earthquake at 10.0, regardless of how deep it is. So every time I see a 10.0 earthquake, I'm going, well, these seismologists probably know how deep it was and don't want to tell us. So I'm so sorry. I was not doing this earlier. They don't want to tell us how deep they were. Why? Because we can track earthquakes. We can forecast earthquakes on two pretenses. One, the size of the earthquake, and two, how deep the earthquake is. A deep earthquake will result in a shallower, larger earthquake. A deep earthquake will result in a larger and much shallower earthquake. So in this case, we've had a 5.2 magnitude earthquake over here in Limbaza, Fiji. We've had this moderate to large earthquake over here in Vanuatu that was fairly deep quake. Okay, in this case, this earthquake here will probably result in a 5.3 to 5.4 magnitude earthquake when all is said and done. Now, this earthquake could, in all actuality, end up over here near Tonga or one of the other Fiji islands over here, since we already have a 5.2 over here. And over to the west, here in the Solomon Islands, we have a 5.0. Now, this earthquake could also spawn a larger earthquake over here in New Caledonia, which is basically the fulcrum point between this earthquake in the Fiji Islands, or excuse me, in the Fiji Island, Vanuatu, I should say, not Fiji. Vanuatu, and this earthquake in the Solomon Islands. It could spawn an earthquake in New Caledonia. Okay, but we also have this 5 here. So we have a 5 here, a 5 here, and a 5.2 here. That's just 3 of the large earthquakes. We also had another large earthquake over here near Hibaro, Japan. 78 kilometers east-southeast of Hibaro, Japan, or Hibaro, Japan. This is in the Ryukyu Islands, the South Ryukyu Islands, south of mainland Japan. We also had another large earthquake over here in Burma, a very large earthquake, a 5.9 over here in Burma. Okay, this happened early this morning, probably about 5 o'clock this morning in Burma, which is in the middle of the night in Burma. Okay, so we have what? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large earthquakes. 5 large earthquakes. Going up here, Japan, we have a 4.6 moderate earthquake that also hit late last night, early this morning. Over here in Kamchatka Island, Russia, on the southern area of Kamchatka, Russia, we had a 4.2. Let's go over here to Chile, South America. We had another 5.1. We had a 4.5 in Felipe, Chile. And just barely north of there, we had a 4.6 in Chile. But that's not all, folks. There's more. Down here in the South Sandwich Islands, they also got hit by large seismic energy. Here's a 5.0 in the Bristol South Sandwich Islands. And it has an aftershock, a 4.7 aftershock. That's not all, folks. There's more. There's a 5.4 just northeast of there. Again, in the South Solomon Islands. Okay, so we've had a 6, a 5, a 5, a 5, a 5, a 5, a 5, and another 5, and another 5. That's a lot of 5s. That's a lot of large earthquakes. A 6 over here off the coast of Honduras. We had a 5 here. That's 3 very large earthquakes, or 2 very large earthquakes. Going down here to the South Sandwich Islands, we have 2 more 5s. That's 4. 4. Down here in Limbaza, Fiji, we have a 5.2. That's 5. Over here in Vanuatu, we have a 4.9, 5.0. That's 6. Solomon Islands, we have a 5.0. That's 7. Over here in Ryukyu Islands, we have another 5, 5.3. That's 8. Over here in Burma, we have another 5.9, which may have been a lot larger than a 5.9. Now, I got to bed very late, 5 o'clock this morning, because I've been busy talking to you and giving you guys information about this earthquake over in Honduras. And I was giving you more information about what is happening in the United States, which we're going to go to in just a few minutes. But this isn't over, folks. Not by a long shot. Okay? Over here in Afghanistan, USGS says we have a 4.7. But there's a lot of other earthquake activity here in the Middle East. There's more earthquake activity over here in Europe, in Greece, Albania, in Italy, Turkey. And what do we have over here? More earthquake activity in northern Italy. We're going to be talking about this. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about it, but I want you to be aware of it. Now, up here in Alaska, folks, we had another 5.3. That makes 10 large earthquakes. 10 large earthquakes, very large earthquakes. This was a 5.3. Even though it was not a mid-range or larger 5, I'm going to call this a large earthquake, a very large earthquake, because I know what the powers that be at the agencies say and think. For whatever reason, they downgrade these quakes. This quake has also had numerous aftershocks. The last one, the last earthquake aftershock, was earlier this morning. Now this is down in the Gulf of Alaska here. And they've had, like I said, they've had quite a few aftershocks from this. And it was not probably felt at all here on land. Even though this was a large earthquake, it probably wasn't felt much at all out here. This originated in the eastern Aleutian Islands, just south of mainland Alaska, south of Kodiak Island, which is up here. But nobody probably felt this earthquake because it was in the ocean, and the ocean absorbed the seismic energy. The ocean absorbed the seismic energy. USGS is not reporting any other earthquakes up here, except over at Kobuk, Alaska. Why? Because Kobuk, Alaska has had four small aftershocks. These four small aftershocks are resulting from a 6.3 magnitude earthquake last year, about February, March last year. That's why Kobuk got hit. The USGS is not showing any other earthquakes, but I promise you, there are a lot of other earthquakes up here in Alaska. Okay? We can't go a day without talking about earthquakes in Alaska. Even though this case, they're showing 3 earthquakes in mainland Alaska, and they're showing a large earthquake over here in the eastern Aleutian Island chain. The eastern Aleutian Island chain here, south of Kodiak Island, and it's also got aftershocks. And the last one just hit a short time ago, a 3.1. A short time ago. Okay. Now I'm about to go over to the other map. This is the USGS map. And those of you that know me know that we go over and check the EMSC, the European agency. Now, the majority of the earthquakes were here, right here, in the Pacific Ring of Fire. Okay, let me turn down the light here so you can better see this. Sorry about that. Majority of the earthquakes are here in the Pacific Ring of Fire. Like I said, I was up until 5 o'clock this morning. Well, we knew that there were going to be earthquakes, more earthquakes than there was. We had seen during the past 48 hours that the Ring of Fire was getting hit with quite a few earthquakes. And we are very surprised that we didn't get hit more with more earthquakes, even more larger earthquakes than we did. Like I said, when we went to bed, there were 231 earthquakes, and now there's 249. I honestly thought there'd be 300. Honestly, thought there'd be at least 300, maybe more. And I told everybody that. Well, 2 hours and 21 minutes after I finally laid down, there was another earthquake. Can you even imagine where this earthquake was? I'm sure you guys can imagine where this earthquake was. Oh, golly gee. Please tell me that they didn't take this off the map. This earthquake hit near where I live. Near where I live. It was a 4.2 magnitude earthquake, and they, the powers that be here in Utah, have come down and said it was only a 4.19. 4.19 is a 2, guys. Don't let them fool you. Don't let them fool you. Now, I'm trying to find this earthquake, but they're not showing it. They're not showing it. This morning, this earthquake was right over here. Okay, let me move this camera here a little bit. There we go. Doggone it. Why did it go that way? I'm going to show you this come heck or high water today. Okay. We had, between last night, when I finally went to bed, we had like 5 or 6 earthquakes left from last night's earthquakes. Okay. Now we have 21 plus earthquakes. I think it's probably close to about 30 earthquakes here in Salt Lake City. One of those earthquakes is a 4.2, regardless of what the USGS, what the University of Utah, or anybody else said. This was at least a 4.2. Now, why am I saying at least a 4.2? Because I felt it. And it felt exactly like the 5.7. Exactly like the 5.7 that hit over here just west of downtown Salt Lake, March 18th. And I live far south. I live about 40 minutes south of where this earthquake hit. Don't you just love them hiding earthquakes? I am trying to find it. Oh, guess what? I think I found it. They moved it. They moved it. I knew where it was last night. They moved it. This is a salt marsh where they pull salt out of the Great Salt Lake. Okay. This is a salt area. It's not in water, but there's what they call the 4.19, 4.2. Okay. I will show you, just for kicks and giggles, where I live. Okay. There are a lot of earthquakes out here, minor earthquakes. They're west of where this earthquake was. They are south of where this earthquake was. And they're even east of where this earthquake was and where the other earthquakes were. Okay. I'm going to pull up the map here, or pull out from the map here. Okay. You see this 20 plus? They've got it all over here in Magna. M-A-G-N-A. M-A-G-N is in Nancy A. Okay. And it is just, it is just south of the Great Salt Lake that you see right there. That's the Great Salt Lake right there. And they're showing all these earthquakes in that just one little area. That's not the actual facts. You saw, you've seen how they spread these earthquakes out. Okay. Let's spread them out even more. They're all over. They're all over Magna and all over Salt Lake City. Okay. I am going to show you where the mountains are. This is the Wasatch Front. This is the Wasatch Front. When we hit that 20 plus, it's going to zoom in the map and still not show us all of the earthquakes. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 earthquakes there. And there's another 10 plus in there too. There's another 10 plus in there as well. So we know for a fact how many earthquakes there were. About 30 of them. A 4.2 hit at 7:21 this morning, waking my sorry, tired butt up. A good thing probably, because I had to get up and take care of some other things today. But we had another 4.2 that they're calling an aftershock of the 5.7 that had hit here March 18th. So now we've had two 4.2s in the same week. Earlier this week, just a couple days ago, we had another 4.2 and another one today. They're calling them aftershocks. Calling them aftershocks, okay? I'm going to pull up an article here, if I can find it. Maybe I'm not going to find it. That's really weird. I know I didn't get rid of it. God, that's weird. Well, irregardless, there's been talk from the seismologists here that this was just an aftershock. Just an aftershock. And people should be aware that it was just an aftershock. I think we may be seeing the beginning of a larger earthquake here in Salt Lake City. And if that's the case, this was a foreshock of that large earthquake. Oh gosh. I just found that article and all of a sudden it went away and it showed another article that I can't help but not share with you. Isn't that something? I can't find the article now. Oh gosh. Okay. There was another event today. I'm just going to take it with you that this was an aftershock. That's what they're saying. We'll see, won't we? At 10:30 this morning, for those of you that watched our program late last night, 10:30 this morning, and last night on our program before we went to bed the first time, I said that we're going to have an emergency preparedness event today. I posted it earlier this week on Facebook. It is what they call the Great Utah Shakeout Day, an earthquake drill, where we plan for an earthquake, We prepare for it. We teach people how to respond to earthquakes so that they might know what to do when the earthquake hits. You see this family getting underneath a sturdy table, and they're teaching their young daughter also how to get under a sturdy table in the event we have an earthquake. Well, this morning at 7:21, we had a 4.5 earthquake, and it shook. And the people in downtown Salt Lake felt it all over. And we felt it 35, 40 miles away. And it probably wasn't 40 miles away. It was 40 minutes away for all intents and purposes for me. So we had a real earthquake on Utah Shakeout Day. And we taught a bunch of lessons in the news media. They're talking about this and how important it is to teach people how to respond to earthquakes to protect themselves. According to this earthquake, again, aftershocks rattle residents on earthquake day, shakeout day. Aftershocks rattle residents on Utah Shakeout Day. More than 1,200 aftershocks are continuing to rattle the nerves of Utah communities, including the latest one to hit Magna Thursday morning, coincidentally on the Great Utah Shakeout. Okay, that's what they had. That's what they had to say. And that's all good. It measured on the magnitude of 4.2 magnitude quake, the same strength of an earlier aftershock that happened on Tuesday evening, just 2 days ago, a day and a half ago, actually. Other than much smaller aftershocks registered throughout the day, people should know that the aftershocks will subside over time, said Joe Doherty, spokesman for the Utah Division of Emergency Management. And I know him, he's a nice guy. Okay, everything's been happening has been in the realm of normal, he said. Okay. While some folks may be nervous over the aftershocks, Doherty urged people to restrain calm and remain calm. It is just a continuing settling of the earth, and the chance of having a stronger earthquake than the one that happened March 18th near Magna, a 5.7, is less than 1%. Less than 1%. But then again, we've had two moderate earthquakes a month after that 5.7. Usually those moderate earthquakes will happen right after the main shock, not a month later. So again, I'm not trying to say Mr. Doherty's wrong. I know the guy, he's a nice guy. All I am saying is I think we're probably going to have a larger earthquake. And I have a lot of reasons to say that. Doherty also urged residents to do virtual earthquake drills today, if they can. And they can participate as much as possible in the Great Utah Shakeout Day, which last year drew more than 100 million, drew more than 1 million participants here in the Salt Lake and the Utah state area. This year, 650,000 people signed up to take part in the drills. And the state will let people register to participate at any time in the near future once social distancing rules are relaxed. Social distancing probably stopped some and made people think about, well, maybe I shouldn't get so close to people. Maybe I shouldn't get so close to people, because normally when an earthquake happens, you're going to dive under the nearest table or desk. the nearest large table or desk that's going to protect your body. That's what you typically do. And you usually dive there under those tables and desks with somebody else. But because of the social distancing that we've had to put up with, people are having a hard time with it. So there probably weren't too many people diving under tables and desks. Okay. But again, Mr. Doherty, and he's a nice guy, he's a great leader. He really is. I've seen him in action. But he is still urging people to do their own earthquake drills once this thing subsides. And the president is going to open it up again, hoping to keep it open. However, there's some mayors and governors that don't want to do that. Some mayors and governors have said it's not going to open, they're not going to open their cities and states until the middle of June or July or the end of this year. Fact, that's what they're saying. Anyway, for those of you that are interested, you can get more information on the Great Utah Shakeout. Residents can go to shakeout.org/Utah, shakeout.org/Utah. And information on earthquake preparedness can be found at bereadyutah.gov, bereadyutah.gov. Or you can go to Emergency Management Associates at gmail.com and we'll send you information. Or you can go to our website, which is beneath this video and beneath the videos on YouTube. And you can go there and pull information on earthquakes all day long. Earthquake kits, information on earthquake planning, and all sorts of other emergency information that you might need. Okay, there are more earthquakes than have just been talked about. A lot more earthquakes than have been talked about. Okay, there are a lot more. Here's another article. Another aftershock of 4.2 magnitude hits Utah as earthquakes continue. Woohoo! Another one. Northern Utah gets second 4.2 aftershock in a week. There's a lot of things here we could talk about, believe it or not. By the way, something that I forgot to mention yesterday. The governor of this great state of Utah has dismissed school classes until next fall. All Utah kindergarten through 12th grade high school students dismissed for the rest of this academic year until August 16th, 2020, unless something else happens. So even my son gets to have a long summer vacation. He's still doing some homework. Most schools sent homework home for students to do, even though they're not in an official school. And parents are having to stay home and take care of their kids. All right. There are a lot of things that I want to talk about. There are I don't know why this is happening. Excuse me just a quick second, folks. I got a little battery warning. I've got a little battery warning on my computer, so I've taken care of that problem. Anyway, there are a lot of issues with COVID-19. And I want to quickly talk about it and get right into what is going on with earthquakes, because we have a lot more information that we want to talk about. One of the news articles that came into us today, man claims nursing home said mom was fine hours before likely coronavirus death. A man says he frantically tried to call his likely coronavirus-stricken mother at her Brooklyn nursing home to get an update on her condition over the weekend, only to learn that she had died a day earlier. And yet the nursing staff said she was fine. Okay. That's them. Then another one, a pregnant nurse in a coma with COVID-19 doesn't know she gave birth. Another one died of the virus, but the baby is well. You can look that one up. The nurse died and her baby survived. A woman from Ohio who is infected with coronavirus and put in a medically induced coma is still unaware that she gave birth to a baby boy a week ago. Unreal. Unreal. There's a lot more news that I would like to have given you, but we just don't have time. There's so much more to talk about here. I wish we had time. One of the things that's going on here in Utah, and again, this relates to the coronavirus, and I know everybody's tired of hearing about it, okay? But we're going to talk about it just real briefly. People are fed up with it. They're fed up with the coronavirus, and you can't blame them. You can't blame them. But in this case, there are Democratic politicians here in Utah that want to turn this into a big deal, and they're seeking to respond to this global coronavirus pandemic. They're going to curtail the governor's declaration powers, so he can't do anything or very little of anything. And they're going to try to take over his powers and make it so they can tell everybody what to do. The bill would require the governor to give legislators 48 hours notice before announcing an emergency declaration. Other COVID-19 bills approved in a virtual special session today. Okay. In a historic first virtual special session, in other words, the legislators did not even go to the Utah State House to do anything, but they did it virtually via computers, via the internet. They passed bills today responding to the global coronavirus pandemic, including setting limits on the governor's powers and creating a commission to recommend how the state will begin reopening economically. They're going to curtail what the governor says and take over, basically. That's basically what it says. The special session was also first called by lawmakers themselves to limit, and it's supposed to be limited to 10 days, and it will continue at least through Friday and likely into next week. Among the bills lawmakers dealt with today is one requiring the governor to give the legislators 48 hours notice before he declares an emergency declaration. a bill that even some Republicans decried as legislative power overreach. And there's a lot more to it than that. The House here in Utah voted 56 to 18 to pass their bill that would require the governor to provide notice to consult with legislators before he calls an emergency in the state. What if it really is an emergency? A major earthquake is hit, and he's got to go over to the legislators and say, oh, but gee whiz, you guys told me I had to come to you before I declared an emergency, so we're going to sit here and wait 48 hours. These Democrat communists don't know what they're doing, honestly. Okay? The bill is being held up in the Senate here in Utah for negotiations, and there will be some changes made. But these people are trying to really throw a screwball to everybody's ball game. Okay? It's unreal. It's unreal. Anyway, I want to get over this COVID-19 garbage. Okay? I want to go over here and talk about earthquakes. First off, this is Thursday. We usually talk about Cascadia. I started this show talking about the major earthquakes all around the world. There's a reason for it. We've also had plenty of other earthquakes. I just showed you right before this how there's earthquakes literally all over the Pacific Ring of Fire. And they're all over the world. Earthquakes all over the world. Okay? Literally. But we're going to really get in here. We're going to delve deeply in here and show you what's going to happen and what we can expect to happen very soon. Okay? You can see the large earthquakes here along the west coast of the United States. And you can even see some over in Oklahoma. We're going to talk about that. Okay? We're going to talk about that. We had 50 plus earthquakes up here in Alaska. I want to go up here and talk about that first. Most of these earthquakes were in southern Alaska. Most of them. Okay? We did not have anything around Mount Redoubt today. It was north of Mount Redoubt and north of Mount Redoubt and east of Mount Redoubt across the Cook Strait here. This is the Cook Inlet. The Cook Strait is over between the two islands in New Zealand. Okay, that was the Cook Strait. Most of these earthquakes, like I said, are in southern Alaska. Okay, you can see earthquakes as far south as Big Lake, Alaska. Okay, even west of Anchorage. No real earthquakes in Anchorage. And around Denali. Nothing got near Mount McKinley today. Nothing. We did get earthquakes over in Kobuk, Alaska, where a 6.3 magnitude earthquake happened last February, March time period. We got several earthquakes over here in Kobuk, Alaska. Okay, here's 5 of them. 5 earthquakes, Kobuk, Alaska. A 1.5 up north, a 1.3, a 2.7. Excuse me. There's a 2.7 in Kobuk. Just south of there, a 1.1. And the one I really wanted to show you was a 1.3 just south of the 2.7 in Kobuk. So they had 5 earthquakes around Kobuk today. Minor, but still 5 earthquakes there. there was nothing up above the nothing above the Arctic Circle today. Nothing up on the North Shore. Yesterday we did. Today it's calmed down. Okay, that was Alaska. But guess what happened today? Queen Charlotte's Island got hit. The west side of Queen Charlotte's Island got hit, British Columbia. We had a 2.5 magnitude quake there. A 2.5 magnitude quake, Queen Charlotte's Island, Alaska. Alaska, British Columbia. Queen Charlotte's Island, British Columbia. Now this is a start. This is the start. Let's see what happens. Remember what I've been saying, and now Dutch and a lot of the experts are looking at, getting a 7.0 along the west coast of the United States and Canada, and coming up into even Queen Charlotte's Island, northwest of Vancouver. And today, Queen Charlotte's Island, we had a 2.5 just off the coast of Queen Charlotte's Island. Let's go down here to the Pacific Northwest, Washington State. Okay, let's start over here just west of the coast, or excuse me, just east of the coast. Chelan, Washington, a 1.15. South of there, a 1.27. Let's go west. North Bend, Washington. Here's a 1.8. Let's go south. Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier. Over on the northeastern slope of Mount Rainier, we had a minus 0.21, meaning it's above sea level. It was on the northeastern flank of Mount Rainier. Northeastern flank of Mount Rainier. Would you like to take a look at Mount Rainier today? There it is. This is a seismogram of Mount Rainier that happened today. Earlier yesterday evening at 5 o'clock, 1700 hours, 5 o'clock Pacific time yesterday, you can see the heavy duty magma infill going on at Mount Rainier. You all see these curlicues, these spike and curlicues going on here? All these curlicues are venting, steam eruptions. But folks, look at all these curlicues here. Look at all these curlicues here. This is major steam eruption. Major steam eruption at Mount Rainier today. Okay, I'm surprised we only had one earthquake recorded at Mount Rainier today, considering major steam eruption going on at Mount Rainier. And look out, folks, this was this afternoon. Look at the magma infill and the continued steam eruption going on throughout the afternoon today. Okay, steam eruptions. And this was probably the earthquake that we talked about that hit the northeast slope of Mount Rainier. Okay, that's Mount Rainier. Let's look at what happened right now. Right now. This is going on right now. You can see it. This happened at 5 o'clock today when we came on the air. And you can still see the magma infill going on at this volcano. And you can still see some spikes going on here, meaning that the steam is still escaping the volcano. That's Mount Rainier. I want to take you over to Mount Baker. Let's go over and take a look at Mount Baker, east of Mount Rainier. This is Mount Baker, the seismogram at Mount Baker, currently, right now as we speak. What are we having here? Steam eruption at Mount Baker. You can see it. These are the steam signatures here. Let's take a look at what happened before this today. How about that, folks? Major magma infill going on at Mount Baker. And just like Mount Rainier, we're seeing a major steam event at Mount Baker as well. A major steam event at Mount Baker as well. Interesting, huh? Okay, let's go back and look at Mount St. Helens. I want to show you, there's other earthquakes here in Washington. Let's go look at Mount St. Helens. This is Mount St. Helens right now. Again, when we came on the air today at 5 p.m. Pacific time, we see light magma coming into the volcano. Mount St. Helens. Let's look and see what happened earlier in the day. Light magma infill going on. Don't pay attention to this big blob up here at 8 o'clock last night, or this one here at 2 o'clock, 2:10, 2:15 this afternoon. Doesn't mean anything. This is a magma signature. That's a magma signature. This is a magma signature, and this is a magma signature as well. But you can see the jiggly lines, okay? There's still magma coming into the volcano. Not quite as much as at Mount Rainier and Mount Baker. And this is south of there. This is south of there. I want to show you something else, and I showed it to everybody last night. I'm going to take you to Crater Lake. I'm going to take you to Crater Lake. Crater Lake, Fleetwood Cove, Oregon. This is what it looked like at 5 o'clock today. And now, it is now 7:30 Mountain Time, and we're still seeing a lot of magma infill coming up. So Crater Lake has got a lot of magma coming. Wait till you see what happened earlier today and last night. Magma infill going on, folks. Here's a small earthquake, a minor earthquake. The rest of this is all magma infill. This is at Crater Lake. This has been going on for some time now. This is not anything new. Okay, I want to show you something else. Let's go over to Mount Hood. Take a look at Mount Hood. Don't pay attention. This blob here doesn't mean anything. There's light magma coming into Mount Hood. Let's take a look at it earlier today. We have magma infill coming into Mount Hood in Oregon as well. Magma coming into Mount Hood. I want to take you someplace else. I want to take you to eastern Washington, east of Mount Baker, east of Mount Rainier. I'm going to take you to Chrisman Ranch. Okay, come on. Okay, I'm going to take you to Chrisman Ranch, eastern Washington. Chrisman Ranch. That's what's going on now. You can see magma infill going on now. Let's show you what happened earlier today. We have earthquakes. We have evidence of earthquakes hitting here. This is eastern Washington. Eastern Washington. Okay. Here's a 1.15. It's in 1.15, Challen, Washington. Sunny Slope, Washington, a 1.27. But this one's a little bit bigger than a 1.27, don't you think? And look at the magma infill going on here. Look at all the magma infill going on here. This is Chrisman Ranch, Washington. Okay. Let's go over to Jordan Valley, Eastern Oregon. Jordan Valley, Eastern Oregon. Okay. I think you're going to find this one pretty interesting. That's what's going on at Jordan Valley. Jordan Valley, Eastern Oregon. Again, over at Mount Hood, we didn't see much, did we? The magma is not coming into Mount Hood as much as it is over here in Jordan Valley, Oregon. This is what it looks like in Jordan Valley, Oregon. Heavy duty magma infill happening. Heavy duty magma infill happening. I think that bears some looking at, don't you? Okay. There's a lot of that going on. There's a heck of a lot of it going on. Now, it's not stopping. It's not stopping. It's continuing to hit. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to show you a lot more earthquakes down in California. I'm going to pull up seismograms of California. Tonight, I just wanted to show you these in Washington. In Washington. There's a lot more where this came from. Okay. We showed you Mount Rainier. Let's continue going down here. There's a lot more here. Southwest of Mount Rainier, Morton, Washington, we have a 1.3. South of there, we have 2 more earthquakes. These are these are at Mount St. Helens. This is 0.37 at the summit of Mount St. Helens. And yet the seismogram didn't say much, did it? This one is at the summit. It's on the plug. It's on the plug. Mount St. Helens has also been steaming. We didn't see much of that on the seismogram today, but it's been steaming. These earthquakes keep hitting the plug and they're fracturing the plug, and that's why the mountain steams. Steam eruption. You saw the seismogram at Mount Rainier today. This one is a 0.24 earthquake on the southern slope down below Mount St. Helens. So we had two earthquakes, one at the southern slope and one at the summit of Mount St. Helens today. Okay? Mount St. Helens. We also have another earthquake here at Mount Hood. Mount Hood. Here's a 1.11 at Mount Hood today. Now let's zoom in here and find out that this earthquake was just below the southern rim of Mount Hood today. Okay, the southern rim of Mount Hood. What do you think's going on? There's magma there, we know it. But we didn't see any evidence of heavy-duty magma infill going on at Mount Hood. But we have an earthquake there. We have an earthquake there, so we know that magma is coming into Mount Hood. Okay. Magma, and somebody asked me this earlier, magma can come out the side of a volcano. It doesn't necessarily have to come out of the summit. We have people that have told us that Mount Rainier is bulging, and I can believe it. With the magma report that we just showed you, I can understand why it's bulging. There's a lot of lava in there, a lot of magma. And over at Mount Baker as well. Both of them are experiencing steam eruptions at both of those volcanoes. So we're seeing it, we're watching it. But again, Mount Hood could go, and we have an earthquake over at the north rim, the south rim of the volcano, which could mean that there's magma on that rim, on the outside of the main magma chamber. So we're going to have to watch Mount Hood and see what happens. I don't think it's going to erupt anytime soon, but we're going to watch it. Let's go south from there. This one is in southern Oregon, Coburg, Oregon. We have a 1.41. 1.41 in Coburg, Oregon. Okay. Let's zoom in here and show you what Coburg, Oregon looks like. This is out on the northern side of town. It's a pretty good sized town here. Not huge, but pretty good sized town. It's out in a field. It's out in a field with a house nearby. It's out behind the house. There's the house and there's the earthquake. Just want to show you. Earthquakes can happen at other places than a volcano. We know that. Okay, I'm just being a little bit silly maybe, but I wanted to show you that. Over in Idaho, we're still getting earthquakes over in the Chalice Cascade area of Idaho. Mid-central Idaho. Lincoln, Montana. Okay, Lincoln, Montana. This is the western end of the Yellowstone magma chamber, 11 Grand Canyons in size. Lincoln, Montana. Not quite the northern end, but the northern part of the Yellowstone magma chamber. Lincoln, Montana had a 2.51 magnitude earthquake and a 1.14, 2 earthquakes today. Let's go south. Manhattan, Montana. We had 2 earthquakes in Manhattan, Montana. We had a 0.79 and a 0.25. This is northwest of Bozeman, Montana. Okay, trying to put earthquakes with names so you know where they happened. West Yellowstone, 23 miles west-northwest of West Yellowstone. We had a 0.63 and a 0.04 in West Yellowstone. Okay, let's go south of there, because we had 2 more earthquakes south of there. We had a 1.89 at Wilson, Montana, and a 2.03. 1.09 or 2.03 earthquake at Wilson, Montana. So that's what happened there. Okay. We did not see any earthquakes down here in Soda Springs here. That's where Soda Springs is. It's been quiet. But we had earthquakes down here in Salt Lake City. Earthquakes in Salt Lake City. Okay. Now I'm going to show you California, because one, you want to see California, and 2, it's important we understand what is going on there. Just east of the Gorda Escarpment. This happened 6 miles east-southeast of Petrolia, California. This is a 1.43 magnitude earthquake. It's on land. This is a minor earthquake happening on land right next to the Gorda Escarpment here. Right next to the Gorda Escarpment. South of there, as you know, we have the geysers. We have the geysers popping up. That's a Clear Lake volcano. Okay, the geysers here. We have a geothermal pumping station that pulls steam out of the Clear Lake volcano to provide steam to power turbines, to provide electricity for the power companies. But there's geysers out here. That's why they call it the geysers. Sonoma County, California. Sonoma County. Fallon, Nevada, directly east. Fallon, Nevada had a 1.16. Fallon, Nevada. What is this? I bet you know. Carson City, Nevada. Actually, it's not either. I'm sorry, that's not Carson City. Guess what this is? This is Bodie, California. Bodie, California, and it's just east of where? Mona Crater, the Mona volcano. The summit of the volcano is right there in the middle of the lake. It's an island there. Bodie, California. It's still getting hit. Still getting hit. A 5.1 hit out there a week ago, and they're still getting hit. Okay. 2.49. 2.49 Bodie, California. But there's also a bunch of smaller ones. 2.91, 1.40, 1.40, 1.80, 1.90. Here's a 1.10. So we had mostly 2s and 1s. 2s and 1s throughout this area after a 5.1 earthquake. 2s and 1s in this area. Let's go south, young man. Let's go. Oh, excuse me. We didn't see any earthquakes today over here at Mammoth Mountain. It's been quiet. Quiet over at Mammoth. Okay. Quiet over at Mammoth. Nothing going on. Let's go south. Over off the coast, north of Los Angeles, Guadalupe, California. We had a 2.93 out here in the ocean right off the coast. 2.93 west of Guadalupe, California. What do we have out there, folks? Nothing right around there. Nothing right around there. But further off the coast, we have a real issue out here. This is an earthquake fault just off the coast. It's a good sized ridge, don't you think? And it moves north. And it's got another one running right beside it out there. That's where the earthquake is. I was honestly expecting to see an oil and gas pumping rig out there. It's not there. That's not why it happened. There's a fault out there. Going back inland along the coast, over by the San Andreas Fault, Pine Mountain Club, we have 1.81. And what is going on inland? I wonder. Cozo Junction, folks. It's lit up, huh? Cozo Junction, 1.21, 1.61 Cozo. Then Little Lake, California. Got a bunch of them. Little Lake, California. The swarms continue. We go south. Searles Valley, California, 1.14. Further south, 0.42 in Ridgecrest. 0.42 Ridgecrest. 0.99 Ridgecrest. Searles Valley, 0.95. 1.31 in Ridgecrest. And it continues down to Searles Valley. Pretty good swarm of earthquakes from Cozo south to Searles Valley, south of Ridgecrest. Okay. Then we go north, we go south of there, and you can see Ridgecrest here. But then we have the Garlock Fault headed towards LA. Garlock Fault headed towards Los Angeles. Okay. Once we get down there, Loma Linda, Glen Avon. Look at that. We have a straight cache of earthquakes. Loma Linda, 1.05, 2.40, 2.40, and south of there, a 0.79 in the Redlands. Okay. We're gonna have fun. The Anza Gap, folks, it's still moving. It's still moving. We have 10 plus earthquakes right here. And there's more. 9 more there. 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 earthquakes right there, and 9 more. 2, 4, 6, 8 more there. 9 more there. That's a lot of earthquakes. That's a lot of earthquakes. Spread out. Anza Gap's still shaking. Anza Gap is still shaking. And it's going to continue for a while. Seismic energy is still moving, folks. Still moving. We go south to Borrego Springs, 0.78. 1.32, Borrego Springs. The ends of Borrego Springs is a huge area. So there's almost 30 earthquakes over in the Anza Borrego State Park area. Anza Borrego Desert. Let's go south some more. Ocotillo Wells, 1.56 Ocotillo Wells, just west of the Salton Sea. Go south. Ocotillo, a 1.02 and a 1.61 today. Okay, that's California. That's California. But we have some other fish to fry here. Loving, New Mexico. We have this is a 3.1 at the border of New Mexico and Texas. Loving, Mexico, 3.1. Then we go over to Oklahoma. Moreland, Oklahoma, 0.97 today. Just to the east, Cherokee, 1.04. Oh, darn it. Cherokee, 1.04. And just east of there is a 1.46 in Perry, Oklahoma. These are all oil and gas pumping operation earthquakes. 3 oil and gas pumping operation earthquakes there. Okay, we did not have any more earthquakes on the east coast of the United States. A couple days ago, we had one over here at the north side of the New Madrid Fault, Tiptonville, Tennessee, 2 days ago. Had a 2. But nothing right now. Not yet. Not yet. Okay. Remember the USGS map? Remember the USGS map? We showed you that wonderful Cayman Ridge, the fault zone. There's a 6.0 over off the coast of Honduras. Okay, we go over here to the Dominican Republic. Had some small earthquakes around the Dominican Republic. Then we go over here to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico. Over here in the Mona Strait. The Mona Strait here. These are off the coast. This is the Dominican Republic here. We have 2 earthquakes there, a 3.2 and a 3.2 and a 2.8. They're at the eastern end of the Dominican Republic there. Then out in the Mona Strait, right near the coast of the Dominican Republic, we have another 3.2. And north of there, over north of the Mona Strait, that body of water right between Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, north end, we have a 2.0. Then we come over here to Puerto Rico. Western Puerto Rico is still getting hit. Still getting hit. There's 2, 4, see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 earthquakes. 13 earthquakes out there. And then we go further east, and we got another one at 1.97 in Villalba, Puerto Rico, 1.97, central Puerto Rico. And just south of there on the shore, we have a 2.89, Potala Posillo. Okay. That one was a 2.88 earthquake. Over in the Virgin Islands. Actually, it's not either. It's over off the east coast of Puerto Rico. Off the east coast. 9 miles south of Esperanza, Puerto Rico. We have a 3.36. 3.36 over off the east coast of Puerto Rico. Okay. Then, if we go north over the Virgin Islands, and that's what I made a mistake. This is north of the British Virgin Islands. This is another 3.63, a 3.63 north of the Virgin Islands. Now, I'm going to back it out. There is the Cayman Ridge, going over the British Islands, the British and US Virgin Islands, and then what's it going to do? It's going to take a mean right turn and head right to northern Venezuela. USGS didn't show you that, did they? They cut off the Cayman Ridge. They cut off the Cayman Ridge. Sorry about that, USGS. So now you understand what's going on in Cascadia. We still have major doings in Cascadia. I showed you other earthquakes in California as well, and over in Oklahoma. The energy is releasing and it's going east. It's not going east very fast, and the major energy is still locked up off the coast of California and Canada. Off of California and Canada. Folks, there's a lot happening right now, and I fully expect it to continue. We've got another solar flare off the sun today. I found out about that earlier this afternoon. Another solar flare. So we're going to be watching that in the next couple of days too, and see what happens. It's only going to mean meaner days to come with earthquakes. And we had a ton of them yesterday. A ton of them. Okay. Now, it's not over. And it's not going to be over till the fat lady sings. And she ain't sung yet. She ain't sung yet. Trying to get over here. See how many earthquakes we have yet here. We had 241. Come on, let us know how many earthquakes we have now. Actually, it's reduced now. There's 232 earthquakes. 232 earthquakes according to Earthquake Tracker. Earthquake Tracker. Go figure. Kuril Islands had a 4.6 south of Russia. That's new. Offshore from Washington, we've had a 3.3 offshore from Washington. Actually, that's not true. It wasn't Washington. It was Western Australia, a 3.3 off the coast of Western Australia. Now, this earthquake is probably an aftershock from last year's 6.3 that happened in the same area. Okay, this is where the earthquake hit. This was a 3.3 today. Last year we had a 6.3 last summer off of Broome, Australia, That's where this is, off the coast of Broome, Australia. So this is probably an aftershock of that earthquake, an aftershock from Broome, Australia. Okay, we got to get out of here. I've got another show that's going to be starting here shortly. I want to tell everybody how much you guys mean to me. You guys really do. You guys mean the world to us. Ask the Lord to bless you. God bless you. And as Walter Cronkite would say, that's the way it is. Thursday, April 16th, 2020. For Emergency Management Associates, this is Ron Tyler. Have a great night. We hope you have a great night, folks. God bless. Do know that we love you. See you soon. If anything else happens, we'll be bringing it to you as soon as we have the information available. Bye-bye.